Good morning, church. I hope you're enjoying your Labor Day today. It's good to be with you. And I'd like to share with you 7 things that Jesus wanted you to know about himself coming out of the Gospel of John. Actually, we normally refer to them as the 7 I am statements. I am. Now, that's a whole other study in itself, and that's the way God introduced himself to Moses when Moses was saying, "Nobody's going to believe me. Who shall I say sent me?" And God said, "I am." Tell him, "I am that I am has sent you." And so that has been synonymous with God all along. And Jesus used that to introduce 7 different I ams, 7 different things that he wanted you to know about himself. The first one is found in John chapter 6, and it's in verse 35 and elsewhere in there. But he says, "I'm the bread of life." Now, bread is what sustains us. It refers to food. And so we realize that we've got to partake of food to give energy to our physical bodies. And we need to partake of Jesus to give us the ability to energize our spiritual bodies. John starts out with, "In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God." And then by the time you get to verse 14 of that first chapter, then we discover that the Word became flesh. And so the Word and Jesus are synonymous, and now bread and Jesus are synonymous. It referred to the manna that came out of heaven and the barley bread that they would be eating and feeding the 5,000s. But in order to feed your spirit, Jesus wanted you to know that you've got to feast on him. You've got to feast on his Word. Another one is found in John chapter 8, and he says, "I'm the light of the world." You know, it's pretty dark out there, especially right now, especially during all this COVID shutdown, and then we've had all these riots, and oh man, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy out there. And there's a lot of darkness that's out there. There's been a lot of darkness for a long time. But when you are following Jesus, you're in the light, and you can see that. As a matter of fact, they can't see that they're in the darkness. And well, again, early on in the very first chapter of the Gospel of John, we discover that the reason that people don't follow after him, and again in John chapter 3 and John chapter 4, the reason that they don't follow after the light is because men love darkness rather than light. He also says, "I'm the door of the sheep." That's found in John chapter 10, verse 7, and also in verse 9. The sheepfold was a tiny little place that the shepherds would be able to pin up their sheep overnight for safety. And well, it was just an opening. You could come in and go out and come in and go out. But when it was time to come in for the night, the shepherd would lead his sheep in to that little sheepfold, and he would lay down in that opening. He was the door. That signifies protection. You know, you're in the palm of Jesus' hand. That also signifies protection. And I want you to know that you're in a safe place if you're following after Jesus, and he's promising to protect you. You know, that door that you go in and out of your house all the time, well, at night, you finally close it for the last time for the evening, and you lock that door. You might even have a couple of locks. You put that deadbolt on just to be extra secure. Well, Jesus is your deadbolt and so much more. In John 11, chapter 11, verse 25, he says, "I am the resurrection and the life." That's what he was telling Mary and Martha. Their brother Lazarus had died, and he had been dead for 4 days. And Jesus says, "I'm the resurrection and the life." And he demonstrated it on that earthly plane, what will transpire in the heavenlies. And so he raised Lazarus from the dead, resurrected him from the dead, and gave him life again. But when it speaks about a Christian now, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And that's such great news. But there's going to be that body resurrection. And you're going to be given a brand new body. And it's eternal life. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. He says, you've been faithful in a few things, but I'm going to give you many. So what a great, great greeting we're going to have when we see Jesus face to face. In John chapter 10, verse 11, he says, "I'm the good shepherd." I want you to realize that Jesus is committed to taking care of his own, of his sheep. You know, a good shepherd would plan ahead where he was going to take the sheep to graze, and he would actually walk that route. And if he saw any poisonous plants that were growing along the wayside, the sheep wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And so he'd pluck them out, get rid of them, make sure the sheep were going to be okay. If he saw that there was just a little flaw that was there in that sheep, of course that wouldn't be one that would be offered for a sacrifice, but he would take care of that little lamb, and he would make sure that he was going to be healthy and strong. Jesus also says that I am the way, the truth, and the life in John chapter 14, verse 6. You probably have friends that say, that's too narrow. Well, Jesus said that too. He said, narrow is the way that's going to lead to eternal life. There's going to be few that find it. Broad is the pathway that leads to eternal destruction. But the most important thing to realize is that, yes, the way is narrow. It's Jesus. No man comes to the Father except by him. And we don't need to be ashamed to say that. And we can add this, because it's narrow, because it'd be like a needle in a haystack, if we didn't know where to look, Jesus points out that narrow way. It's him and only him, the way. He's the truth. He just totally is truth. All truth is found in him. Truth points to him. And he is eternal life. Well, here's one last one. He says, I am the true vine. That's John chapter 15, verse 1. You see, when you are attached to Jesus, when he's the source of everything for you, then when you're following after him, you cannot help yourself but bear good fruit. Sometimes people get all concerned, oh, I don't see any fruit in my life. What is fruit? Well, just, you know what? Just be attached to Jesus in your prayer life, in your reading, in your daily walk, and you'll find out that your life bears much fruit. May the Lord bless you, keep you, make his face to shine upon you all the days of your life. Have a great day. We got to go back to work tomorrow. Bye-bye.